Hi there. I'm so excited to talk to Jerolynn Cochran. She is writing a memoir, and I remember, Jerolynn, when you first came into my world, you mentioned that you're doing that, and you said it's gone through a lot of evolutions, and now you're going through this kind of like this journey. I don't want to say journey. What is it?
I would say I'm finally coming home into my body. And what I realized a few days ago is that I've been a problem solver, and that's got me my career, that's got me through my life. But what I'm seeing now is I don't see myself in parts, I see myself as a whole.
Oh, that's great. I resonate with that, being a problem solver. And I realize that if you're a problem solver, you look at everything as a problem.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And
and
I
I,
could actually figure out the matrix of my parts of me and how I address the problems. And now it's all coming into just me and my body. Yeah.
cool, cool. Because I remember that is something about you. You are naturally organized, and you're able to see, understand complexity and systems.
Yeah.
And that you, when you came into it, you had a plan and you had a structure, right? Do you want to talk about your evolution of where you started and where you are now, and what maybe the biggest kind of uh transformation for you has been?
Well, I think so. I think the transformation, I think really it's been in the vision work and the part of that in terms of the pre-choosing, choosing, and the ability to re-choose has been very important, because I would say in the past I would have had a fixed goal, and if I didn't meet it, no, first of all, I'd have to work extremely hard to get to it, like just insane stuff. And so, of course, I'd fail really early on, and I already hadn't met the goal, so I would crash and burn basically in a shame cycle.
Mm.
So, my kind of saving grace in my life has been detective novels, and so when I read 7 or 8 books in a weekend, there's a problem that I'm avoiding. Yeah. But now I can look at something and I don't collapse into the failure of it. I see it and I adjust and I readjust and I do it again. And so I've become really fluid in, the challenge that I've set for myself in this bike ride, and in what's happening in the rest of my life.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, you've given yourself grace, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. And that's from that choosing. I remember the night we did the two fingers,
Mhm.
and I recall how jittery my vision was because I was trying to see it all. I couldn't like let go and just see one thing. And it made me realize that that's what I had been doing. And it's impossible.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you recognize, especially when you recognize that you set yourself up for failure by trying to achieve something that is really not achievable. And that's a great insight, because then you take so much off your plate that you've been struggling with.
But on the flip side of it is, I could have, I mean, I can set myself the very same goal, but it's not how I get there, but how I'm behaving as I get there that determines whether I even get there. So the old me would have crashed and burned like months ago for that Hilly 100 that I want to do the bike ride. And the new me is like, oh, like this morning, a dog chased me and was barking at me, and I hadn't finished my workout. Well, the world didn't blow up or go away. It's like, oh, okay, so now I'm going to do this tomorrow instead. And the thing is too that I'm finding in myself because of that, I have capabilities that I had no ownership of and no idea that I could do it. Like I've gone from, 2, 3, 4 kilometers to riding, like I've done a gravel bike ride. I've never ridden gravel before, and meeting every unknown possible in that bike ride. And I use the tools and the resources. I mean, on the gravel bike ride, it was brutal. So I knew nobody. I didn't have the same equipment as anybody. I didn't know where I was. I didn't have the route. I had to rely on somebody's markings. And we go out and there's a torrential downpour after about 10 kilometers in. So just like soaked. And I have running shoes on, not bike shoes. So they're like filled. And my glasses don't work anymore. And I use them basically, for like safety glasses. So I took the glasses off. And then we get to this part where the guy had said early in the morning when I talked to him, he said, "Oh yeah, there's a path through the woods in a couple of places." He said, "But they're straight through." Well, he didn't mention it was mountain biking. He didn't mention it was an old railway bed where the ties had never been removed. So, and because of the downpour, the roads were filled. So I had to trust everything that I had. But I got to a point where it was like, I can't take this anymore. And I started to cry and I could see myself. And I thought, okay, well, I could keep crying or I could just like let go of that and just keep going because I have to get out of here. And so like in the being able to choose that way, I got through that ride and it was insane. And like so we went from there and at the very end, there were 30 to 50-kilometer headwinds, like riding straight into them. I felt like Miss Gulch in The Wizard of Oz, like you're pedaling, but you're not getting anywhere. And but again, like I just chose, I thought, I'm out here. All I can do is pedal. Okay, pedal. And I got done. So all of everything that we're doing comes into that like every day when I go out on my bike. And then that carries over into everything else in my life.
What would the old Jerolynn have done in that circumstance?
Well, I would never quit. Like if I went in the ride, I wouldn't have quit, but I would have been incredibly furious the entire time. I would have been looking for somebody to help me. There was one part at the end of the trail, and this was kind of like it showed it up really well. So I get to the end of this, with the railroad ties all thrown up and wading through muck and rocks, and I see the incline and I can see the trail gate, like there's yellow gates that we have here, and it's like, okay, there's the end. And then the ride organizer was coming towards me, and I'm like slogging up the hill, and mud is like tracked into my shoes, and they weigh about 20 pounds each. And I thought, my first thought was, oh, I got to get on my bike and pretend that I've been riding the entire time. That's the old me. And I would have done it too. And just like grim, whatever. And no, I'm just walking out of here. And that's a big difference in me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So old you would have been furious. So
Yeah.
that would drain your energy and also have just not been a pleasant experience at the end when you had to walk the bike.
Yeah.
Old you would have been ashamed of walking the bike.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's great. That's
Yeah.
to experience that moment with just acceptance, but also a focus and a determination that actually got you through it.
And even the focus to get over the physical parts of the trail. Like I've never mountain biked. And we're going over like slippery rocks and there's tree branches in your face and you're going through puddles that are so deep you can't even tell what's under the surface and that kind of thing. And I'm just like this, and I'm just like, I'm doing it. That's it. But it's like a calm, easy, yes, I can do this.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, versus being like tunnel vision and like gripping and having to just grin and bear and go through it. You were able to be present with the process.
Yeah, and smile and enjoy it and talk to people at the end. And before I would have been like so rigid and so furious and so bound up with that energy that I wouldn't have been probably pleasant for several days, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have punished myself afterwards too.
Right. So those two things, the response of being angry and outwardly blaming and then feeling shame for that. So feeling that's the whole cycle. And now it's making a choice and having ownership of that choice and then being able to enjoy.
Yes. And be excited about what I had accomplished, just in terms of the terrain, in terms of the distance, in terms of being in a group where I didn't quite feel like I fit, and all of that. And it's like, okay, we can do this. Yeah.
That's exciting. Before this, you were talking about how you had no bikes and now you have three. Can you talk a little bit more? Because you also talked about how you were writing your memoir, but it was taking a lot of different shapes. And now it's going to be shaped around this journey to do the Hilly 100. So that's a 100-mile bike ride through lots of hills. They call that a century, right?
Well, this is 100 kilometers, but they
Oh,
call it
100
the hilliest 100 kilometers in Canada. It's like
Oh, wow.
it's like about 105 kilometers, and the elevation difference is about 1,300, like the climbs in it,
Okay.
1,300 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, great. So was that like, how did that come into being and how did that become something that's obviously a really potent place for you to show up and for you to kind of have as like a goal?
Well, it's funny. Like I think I ordered your book last June, and within a span of about 2 or 3 weeks, I ordered your book. I started reading the book. I came up to where I live now to scope out a place to live that my girlfriend had found. I wasn't convinced at all. And when I came up, the terrain changed as I came from a very flat area in Ontario to this incredibly hilly place. And what was funny was when I turned onto the road that I live on, I saw the road from a cyclist mind, because I used to race, and I was looking at it like, oh my God, like look at that downhill. I wasn't like in a car. I was riding my bike along this thing. And and then the apartment fell exactly into place. Like I came and I saw where I live now, and I said within probably 5 minutes, I'm like, I'll take it. I'm good. So I made this commitment to come up here, which is with people that I love and trust, as opposed to hanging on to old family connections just because they're family connections. So into a different community, where I get to experience people who will hold me for who I am, and call me out too on things, which is really good. And so then I found out about this Hilly 100, and with I think with getting in my body and realizing how I had behaved with it before, I think that I realized that there was a resource here, and that 65 doesn't mean I can't try something like that. So, and I think the big thing is what is my body capable of when I trust it? And like, what can I do with that? And so the Hilly 100 is a perfect way to challenge myself physically, and to challenge myself and meet myself on the road, like every day. And then I can use like the tools and the resources and the choosing, and keep coming back to it. Like stay with the intention, stay with the goal, but not die because I didn't do the very precise little single thing I expected to. Yeah. And what's interesting, I think, too, is that a lot of the vision things have physically, like literally improved my vision, but they've also done like so many other things. Like I realized just this week, Sue, when I'm on a bike, I can turn my head and see the person behind me. I haven't been able to, like, for years. So all of a sudden, like the physicality, that vision part is changing. And then I think too, because I ride very early in the morning, like because it's really brutal humidity here, I get out sometimes like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm doing a lot of vision things naturally because I'm riding. So I'm going through, like if the sun shines through the east, I'm getting kind of that Doppler effect of the coming through the trees. So it's like resetting my vision. I'm riding into the sunshine. I'm out there in nature all the time. So it's like a confluence of all of this is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, with the visual work, just for people who are listening, we when you increase your peripheral awareness, it's calming to the nervous system, because now
Mm,
you're able to track more of potential threat, because your peripheral vision can pick up movement, irregular movement that will
mhm.
grab your attention and have you turn towards it. So that kind of just basic biology helps to calm the nervous system.
Yeah. So I went for a vision checkup a couple of weeks ago, and so it improved, like literally improved. And she
Oh,
said the optometrist said if it continues on that track, then she'll reduce my prescription next time.
cool.
I think it's quite brilliant. I don't like it's important and it's evolutionary for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was so excited to read your book and hear about your experience, because you've gone through, a big journey. So well done.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I know there's more to go, but I know that I have the strength and the capability to do it with the things that I'm learning in the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.